I hope you all are excited because today we're hopping on board the almost private JSX or JetSuite X flight experience from Concord, California up near Napa Valley down to Burbank, California. Now JSX is an airline owned by JetBlue, and they use only Embraer 135s and 145s and much smaller terminals in order to give you a sense of private flying while still flying on a scheduled air carrier. So we arrived at the Concord airport, which JSX is actually the only scheduled flights out of Concord. Most of their traffic is general aviation or charter. You can see here the blue is the construction of the new terminal at Concord Airport, which should be finished within the next year. But in the meantime, we just have this temporary terminal, so it'll do for the time being, but let's go ahead inside and check that out. Now, it is kind of JSX's thing that at all their locations, rather than use the main terminal, they actually have all their own locations, whether they use some form of FBO or some form of their own terminal. But even in these big airports and their bigger locations, they still operate this way. Now, arriving to a JSX flight does have a pretty private feel in the sense that you do get a pretty full concierge-like service where you walk in the door and there's one main desk for you to go up and you can check in, you can give them your bags, they'll give you some sort of boarding pass, and then there's just a terminal full of comfortable seats to hang out and wait for your flight. Now, JSX actually partners with Go Rentals, so if you are trying to rent a car, Go Rentals is going to be your best bet, even in Burbank. So if you rent from a main car company, they can't always give you a ride to or from the JSX terminal, so keep Go Rentals in mind. Now, as I walked outside to use the external bathrooms on this temporary terminal, I couldn't help but think of what was soon to come here at the Concord airport. So they did have some renderings online of what we are to expect from this new airport, and I'm super excited, and I think they're all hoping that it does bring some more traffic besides JSX. You can see here this beautiful curbside parking area, which should allow for plenty of parking, plenty of passenger pickup and drop-off area, and the picture actually has some private jets out on the ramp, so I am curious if they're going to use it for a charter terminal as well. But that being said, the interior is going to be nice and new, and it should be a great waiting spot for your flights. Then I headed outside, I saw our flight was arriving, and went to the viewing platform to get a nice view of this Embraer 135 arriving in from Burbank, ready to deplane and get us on board for Burbank. And I do have to say there is something kind of special about waiting for a flight outdoors, which is something you can do here at JSX. It's kind of a similar experience to something you'll find in Phoenix or Palm Springs. Now that the plane's going to be parked, they're getting ready for us to board. Now, there is no TSA with JSX, but they do have this sort of scanning device. So everyone walks through it, they can see what you have with you, you pull your laptop out of the bag. But it's super quick and efficient, only 1 or 2 people actually had to stop for some sort of additional screening. But after that, you're out to the ramp, they load up your bags, you head out to the airplane, and I was super excited to get on board and see what they had for us. Now, although the Embraer 135 and 145 can feel a little bit cramped, I have to love the seating arrangement of 1-2 because I'm always going to choose a seat on the left side, which means that I'm going to get a window and direct aisle access, which even on any airline gives you some sort of a nice private feel. Now they only have 10 rows on this Embraer 135, and so they actually have plenty of legroom, and it was plenty to stretch out, plenty of recline with the seats as well, super easy to get a nice rest, especially with that backpack tucked all the way under. In addition, there was a charging outlet at every seat that was actually pretty fast, and on the right side with the 2 seats there was 2 charging outlets over there. Meanwhile, I was just looking at my tray table trying to figure out what exactly they wanted me to push to operate what. Now they're starting up the engines, and I have to say I always love these planes when you can see right into the engine and actually watch the engine start up from your point of view. And after a quick 1 to 2 minute taxi, we're at runway 32 right here at Concord, ready to take the runway and depart on down to Southern California. Now the snack option was a little bit different. The flight attendant came around with a basket full of snacks, and passengers could grab out whichever snacks or combination of snacks they wanted. And then she came by and took everybody's drink order where they could place their drinks, and she came by and gave everyone a full can or mixed drink of whatever it was that they ordered. On this flight today I went with a Sprite, and I took 2 of the snack options, the brownie options as well as the cheese snack options as well. Now just a second to try and show you at least how well the recline is on this seat. Now it's super easy to sleep, the seats themselves are super comfortable, and you can see just how far back you're actually able to get from the seat in front of you, which is nice because there is no overhead bin, so any bag you bring with you does have to be at your feet, although we have seen that there's plenty of legroom. Now I wanted to take a look at what they have as far as the in-flight menu goes, which I did not realize before they came around with the snack and beverage service, although it is mostly just advertisements for their partners, such as rental cars and shuttle services to and from the airport. Now there is only one restroom on board the Embraer 135 aircraft, and it's stuck in the back of the airplane. That being said, I do actually find there to be more room in this restroom than a lot of the restrooms you'll find on narrow-body aircraft these days, just because it spans the entire width of the aircraft. Well, welcome to Burbank, California. We're going to be heading over to JSX's hangar here at Burbank. Now, Burbank is actually one of their operating hubs and bases, so I'm excited for what we're going to find, and I'm hoping for it to be a little bit more climactic than Concord Airport. Now that I got my bag, I'll head out to the curb where they do have cars or Ubers. You can see the Go rentals here at Burbank as well. But in the meantime, now that we're wrapping this flight up, I'm excited for you guys to hop on board the return flight in the second half of this video. And boom, just like that, we're ready to hop on board the return flight from Burbank up to Concord, California. Just the reverse of the flight we just got off of a few days later. So we actually did have a rental car arriving back to the Burbank airport. Now, rental car return's not easy. You have to go through the entire queue for terminals A and B, so every passenger trying to get out of the car and onto their flights is in your way. After that, you finally get to the rental car area where you can return the car. Now, theoretically, they're supposed to have a shuttle that takes you over to the JSX terminal, which is about a mile away from here, but today I couldn't get them to do that service for me, so instead, I hiked up my luggage and I started walking the mile over to the JSX terminal. Not all that bad, although it was over 90 degrees in Burbank, so when I showed up to the JSX terminal, I was plenty out of breath and sweaty by the time I got on my flight. Now, this terminal and hangar being a little more official than the one we had up in Concord. Same services though, same desks, same awesome greeting where they took our bags. They were able to print us our boarding pass and take care of all that for us. Restrooms and everything were inside the main building, and then you were able to head out into the lounge area as the main part of the terminal, where there was a counter where I wasn't quite sure if we had to check in with them, but it was just basically walk through the same metal detector and out into the lounge, which had indoor and outdoor areas. After my long walk over here, I decided that it was time for me to sit in the air-conditioned part of the lounge, enjoy my snack, and wait to board my flight up to Concord. Well, they started boarding my flight, so I headed outside, and eventually I decided it was time for me to go on board my flight. Now, they got one plane at a time that pulls up in front of the hangar, making boarding super easy, but as soon as that plane pulls out, they've got another one ready to pull up. They do actually have quite a bit of flights in and out of Burbank each day. Now that I was seated up in seat 2A, it was nice to be able to see the front of the airplane, and the flight attendant actually had a nice little galley where she was able to prepare every drink and snack for each passenger. Now they had the same snack options as on the last flight on the way down to Burbank, so I went with the brownie option still, but instead of the cheese snack, I went for the snap pea snack. And to drink just a bottle of water was nice and easy for me.
Pleasure to welcome you to Concord. Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the sign has been turned off. Our concierge will be greeting the flight and will assist you with your bags and any arrival needs.
Well, thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you all enjoyed the flight. It's always fun to fly on a new airline, and it's always fun to be on the only scheduled flight out of any given airport. Makes it kind of special. But thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos coming up soon. As always, I appreciate you guys. Peace.